Investigations digging deeper after more calls from viewers who have concerns over the amount of money they're paying the HOA in their neighborhood. An investigative reporter, David Hodges, first told you at 4 o'clock about a Union County neighborhood where residents have had trouble getting answers to a basic question. Why are their HOA fees going up?
Now they want to see financial records to answer questions about contracts, bills, and invoices. It turns out they're not the only ones with those questions. David is live in the studio looking into a lawsuit recently filed against the same HOA management company. David?
Yeah, Caroline, Weddington Point was the second neighborhood I interviewed where residents felt they weren't getting important financial records from their HOA. The company hired to manage both HOAs is Cusick Community Management. I decided to start digging through public records that are already available to everyone, and I came across a lawsuit from yet another community in which Cusick is a defendant and the plaintiffs raised concerns about financial transparency.
In 2021, the Waldron Grove Townhomes Owners Association sued the condo builders, contractors, and Cusick. The lawsuit claims the developers maintained control of the Townhome Association board because they were aware of the numerous construction defects and issues. The complaint goes on to allege Cusick was chosen by the builders as a management company that would be friendly to their interests, and that Cusick failed to properly manage the financial accounting by double paying water bills and failing to perform yearly financial audits. It also notes when the townhome owners hired a different management company, Cusick refused to answer questions, including questions regarding financial transactions Cusick had included on financial statements that had not been approved by the board. In 2023, the case was marked settled in full. In response to WBTV's questions about the lawsuit, the attorney for Cusick wrote, "The complaint filed by the various plaintiffs contains several allegations against Cusick, which were specifically denied by Cusick and which were never proven. In April 2023, all claims were dismissed with prejudice and no finding or admission of liability on the part of Cusick."
And my research of public records found Cusick is often chosen to be a community manager by some of the area's largest residential builders, something the attorney for Cusick confirmed. We're continuing to hear from viewers who have major questions about their developer-controlled HOAs. Email me at investigates@wbtv.com if you have an HOA story to share.